Hi, my name is Megan. I'm a mom of 3 in Texas, and I'm a knitter. And welcome to my very first knitting podcast. So, I thought in this video we would go over some of the typical knitting podcast things, like what I made recently, what I'm working on now, some yarn acquisitions for an upcoming project. And then at the end, I wanted to share some spring tee patterns that I have my eye on and maybe get your input on more spring tee patterns. And before we really get into it, I thought I'd let you know I'm wearing a modified Cumulus tee by Petite Knit. I knit this in Knitting for Olive cotton merino. So this is a v-neck like tee pattern from Petite Knit, and I modified it by adding long sleeves. It's a little bit cropped, and yeah, it is perfect for like 3 seasons here, which is just great. And I'm wearing it today because we're having a very warm February day, which is so funny because this time last week it was about 25 degrees outside and today it's almost 70, but that is Texas weather for you. Okay, so first we have this classic ribbed hat. It is a pattern, a free pattern by Pearl Soho. I talked about this hat a little bit in my All My Knit Garments video. But basically, I needed a nice warm hat for some really cold days that we were about to have in Texas. That big winter storm that blew through a few weeks ago. I needed a hat. My son had commandeered the hat that I had made for myself. And I had a hat, but it just wasn't very warm. So long story short is I knit this as the storm was blowing in, and I got a lot of wear out of it. I knit it in Sandiscarn Double Sunday. That's the blue color. I think it's the color Electric Blue. And I used less than 1 skein to make this much hat. And then for the beige, I used Gilliatt in the color Pauvre Blanc. And I really enjoyed knitting this. It knit up pretty fast, and I wasn't sure about the color combo at first, but I've really ended up loving it. And I think the Gilliatt is such a great yarn, and the hat is so squishy. Both the yarns are just soft and sturdy and squishy, and so I'm just really happy with how it came out. This pattern is free from Pearl Soho, and they have a couple of options of what you can, like how you can make the hat. So they have you can make it solid. They have instructions for stripes, like big stripes, small stripes, color blocking. I knit the size medium, and I made up my own stripe pattern because I knew I had that. I just had 1 skein of that Double Sunday, and so I knew I probably couldn't knit the whole thing in blue, and I had some Gilliatt in my stash, and so I combined them to make this. And I really want to use Gilliatt to make myself a sweater sometime soon, maybe in the late summer or fall, so I can wear it next winter. But I knit my husband a sweater using Gilliatt. I'll put a picture here. I used the pattern, it's called the Fisherman's Raglan. I don't remember the designer name, but I'll put that information on the screen as well. And I kind of modified it a little bit. There's no turtleneck, and I added a moss stitch sleeves per his request. He loves wearing the sweater. I have worn the sweater a couple times, and it is just so soft and squishy and sturdy. It's really held up. He's been wearing it for about a year now in the winter, and it's really hasn't pilled that much, which is very impressive. So I think I would love to make a really squishy sweater in like a chocolate brown, maybe. Gilliatt, we'll see. Ozetta has all these really popular patterns out right now, and I'm just like picturing one of her patterns, like the Lakes pullover, which is really popular, or I think there's one called Autumn something. I'll put pictures of both of them up here. Something like that with the Gilliatt would just be so perfect, but that would be a later in the year project. So that is the most recent thing I made, and what I'm working on right now is the Olga Jacket by Petite Knit. So this is my Olga Jacket. This is a pattern by Petite Knit. It is a button front cardigan with a round collar, not a v-neck. and it has kind of like a drop shoulder design. It's slightly cropped, and the sleeves are full length and full but not a balloon, if that makes sense. I have knit pretty much the whole body. I just have the ribbing to do down here, and then I'll get to move on to the sleeves. But this has been so fun to make. I got the yarn and the pattern for Christmas from my husband. I requested the yarn and the pattern, and he graciously got it for me. So I was eagerly awaiting starting this, and I got to start it at the beginning of January. So for me, this is a lot of knitting for 1 month. It's nice that it's a little bit of a bigger yarn. I'm using Purl Soho's knitting yarn. It's kind of like it's a DK merino yarn, and it's great. I've never used it before. I bought this specifically because I wanted to try another Purl Soho yarn because I'd only used their good wool. And I loved good wool. I'd used it for a lot, but I was interested in just basically wanting to try another yarn of theirs. So for this sweater, I'm using Heirloom White and New Leaf Green. And the green in particular, the white is just a great basic, like kind of almost off-white. It's not too bright and not too cream. And then the green is just gorgeous. I don't know if you can see it as well on camera, but it has like a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow. I love it. And it looks really good in the sweater because it has just a little bit of variation, but not enough that it takes away from the stripe pattern. So it's been really fun to try a new yarn and have it work out so well. I feel like I kind of get stuck in a rut with yarns. I don't know if rut is the right word, but you know, I'll try a yarn and I'll like it and I'll kind of keep buying it. Like I've bought a lot of Sandnes yarn and Goodwool and Cascade 220 because honestly, those are all fairly affordable, good yarns, and I know they work for like my projects. I've used Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino once. I like that too. I just haven't needed it again. It's nice to kind of expand my yarn palette, I guess you would say. I think that is a goal I should make maybe for this year, is to try more yarns. I mean, I am already planning maybe to make something with Gilead, which I've made before, but I might count that as trying something new. If you have a favorite yarn that's about $15 a skein or less, and you would like to tell me about it, please leave me a message in the comments because I would love to try new yarns and learn more about just like different yarns that are out there. So that's my Olga jacket. I am I guess you'd say, monogamous knitter. I usually work on one thing at a time. That's what works for me. I love just getting the progress on one thing. I have usually like maybe an hour or so to knit each day, like max. And for me, like having too many projects going on at one time would get a little chaotic, and I think it would be discouraging to me to not feel like I'm making much progress on any one thing. But I know I've heard other knitters talk about how they love having multiple projects because they can knit basically whatever they're in the mood for, you know, if they want to knit their sweater or their hat or their sock. But for me, one project is usually what I'm doing, maybe two max. And that kind of leads me to my next section, which is my yarn acquisitions. So I might have to cast on another project before I really finish this, because my sweet son requested a sweater, and he requested a sweater because I made a sweater for his brother in the fall. I test knit the initial sweater by Hannah Graham, and so his younger brother has this nice blue sweater with a bear on it. It's my son's favorite stuffed animal that I put on a sweater, and so my older son asked me to knit him a sweater. You might hear him playing cars in the background. Asked me to knit him a sweater and put his favorite stuffed animal on it, and so I said, of course, sweetie, I would love to knit you a sweater. So we went to the yarn store. I went with my 3 kids, and it was quite the journey. Luckily my sister joined us, and so she was able to kind of like help me corral people. I rarely take all of them to the yarn store because it is a little chaotic, but we all survived. All of the displays survived, so it was a win. And so we went to the yarn store to pick up some Cascade 220 Superwash. It's Cascade 220 Superwash Merino. And so I've used this yarn for a sweater I knit for my boys a couple years ago. I use different colors, but this is a great yarn for knitting for kids because it is soft, it is a natural fiber, it is affordable, and it can go in the washing machine. So that is pretty much all of my boxes. Check, check, check. I usually will still hand wash their sweaters, but it's nice to know it can go in the washing machine if it gets really dirty or I just don't have the time for some reason to hand wash their sweaters. He picked out this color green, and it's so funny because it actually kind of matches my Olga jacket a little bit, but this green is a lot brighter. It is called Green Flash. And then this is just like their white color. And so we picked this up at our local yarn store, and he wants me to knit him a sweater that has green and white striped sleeves and a green front with a little fox, like in duplicate stitch on the front, because that's what I did for his brother. So I will need to be working on that soon because it is February, and in Texas, it will be warm by March. So I'm actually a little worried about making this for him now. I'm a little worried he won't still like it in the fall, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. You know, if it doesn't work out, I can always unravel it or something, but I want to do it for him, and it's, you know, fun for me, it's fun for him. So this is what I'll be working on next. I think I'm gonna hack a couple of sweater patterns I already have to make it. If I weren't doing that, I would probably use the Holger sweater by Petite Knit because it's basically perfect. I would just knit the body solid and do the, you know, the colored sleeves. But I want to try and use the patterns I already have, and if it's really not working out, then I'll just go ahead and buy this Holger sweater pattern. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about were some spring tee patterns, and I know it's a little early, it's only February, but spring tee patterns, or, you know, spring summer patterns, they're usually with a finer yarn, and they take a while. And, you know, here in Texas, it'll be warm next month in March. So the first thing I've had my eye on, and I've had my eye on these patterns for years, is the Anchor Tee and the Sunday Tee, both by Petite Knit Pictures. I really like both of these tees. They're very similar to me. I know obviously the yoke is slightly different, but if I did choose this pattern, I would have a hard time picking which one because they are so similar. If you have knit one of these or have knit both, and you have a leaning one way or the other, please let me know. I need help making decisions sometimes. But the other thing is I might not make it either of them because I've knit a lot of Petite Knit and I love her patterns. They work well for me, but I would like to try and branch out a little bit to just, you know, support other designers and try something new. So the second thing I've been looking at is the Vilma top by Gregoria Fibers. This is gorgeous. I love the like clover, like eyelet design, and the hem is so cool and the beautiful buttons. This is a beautiful top. I think my only thing is I'm not sure if it would fit well in my closet. I usually dress pretty casually. I'm home with my kids most of the time. I do live in a city, so I do like go out like with my husband and stuff sometimes, but you know, I'm just worried if I made this. It's beautiful, but I don't know if it would really fit my wardrobe. So I've had my eye on it, but we'll see. The last two, oh, actually there's three more patterns, but I'll clump these two together. These are by Les Knit. It is the Peacock Tee. Sorry, I'm like looking over here at my computer to look at the patterns, but this is the Peacock Tee and the Clover Tee, both by Les Knit. And I really like the details on the top. They are both just beautiful. I think I'm leaning more towards the Peacock Tee if I were to make one of these, but I don't know, they're both just beautiful. They look really nice and lightweight, and I like the subtlety of the design. So it has that nice, interesting texture, but it's still a basic, so it would go with a lot. I can really imagine these in my wardrobe, and I feel like I would get some good wear out of them. And then the last pattern I am interested in is Lusk by Rebecca Clow. It's a DK tee and she has all these different ways to customize it, which is a really cool thing about her patterns that I've seen. And yeah, it just seems like it might be a nice thing to have in my pattern library. Maybe I should just buy multiple patterns and see what I'm feeling when I move on from these two projects. But I've definitely been the kind of knitter that I pick my pattern and then I buy my yarn and then I do my project. I am not really a yarn collector or a pattern collector or like a knitting by what I feel like. I frankly haven't had the time or budget to just like collect a lot of things like that. And I feel like it's helped me be really thoughtful about what I'm knitting and what I need in my wardrobe. And for me, that's one of the points. I mean, the main point of this is the hobby aspect of, I love the process of sitting down and knitting, and I can think or listen to a book or watch a show and my hands are engaged and it helps my mind stay engaged in what I'm doing. And I love just the craft and the feeling of making, and obviously the pride you get from getting to wear what you made or seeing someone you love wear what you made. So those are the main reasons why I knit. But I would love to hear what you're making, why you love knitting, your favorite yarns. Just let me know in the comments and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.